Thank you, guys. As we move into the 14th month of the second Trump presidency, we are officially a quarter of the way through one of the most active and consequential chief executive stints in the nation's history. President Trump has had an abundance of policy changes and bureaucratic shakeups in his short time in office so far. As a result, the president relies a lot on approval ratings to guide his decisions, and we'll take a look at those now. To begin, we'll look at the approval ratings of President Trump's immigration policy, which sits at a 53.7% disapproval rate and a 41.6% approval rate as of February 20th. To begin the term, Trump had an approval rating of 46% and a strikingly low disapproval rate of 39%. Approval fell below 50 for the first time on April 10th after peaking at 53.6% on March 6th. Disapproval hit 50% in June and hit its peak on January 26th of this year, 2 days after the death of Alex Preddy at the hands of ICE agents. One of President Trump's largest campaign promises was to curb Biden-era inflation and make America more affordable. The reception of his policies on the subject has been markedly negative, sitting at a disapproval rate of a staggering 58.8% and an approval rate of 33.8%. His rating started at a disapproval of 41% and an approval of 35.8%. However, both his approval and disapproval ratings were at 42.6% on February 10, 2025, and have increased and decreased drastically since then. Trump's disapproval rating peaked on November 23rd at a whopping 66.6%. Hand in hand with inflation and affordability is the economy. President Trump himself markets himself as a businessman, and his dedication to tariffs and the administration's strategy of placing stock market returns on a pedestal shows that the economy is a core pillar of his time in office. As of today, his approval rating sits at 33.8% and disapproval at 55.8%. At the start of his second term, both his approval and disapproval ratings were below 50%. However, as the honeymoon phase ended, disapproval skyrocketed and approval declined minutely. The general theme of President Trump's second term is a good start for approval before nosediving later on. This is reflected in his overall approval rating, which began with an approval rating of 52.4% and disapproval of 40%, before each of them increased and decreased respectively. The nexus point was on March 11th, when his approval and disapproval ratings both reached 48%. As of today, approval is at 41.4% and disapproval at 55%, very similarly to the approval ratings of his first term. Overall, the public opinion on President Trump has shifted downwards over the past year. In all categories, his net approval rating has decreased drastically. Immigration down 12.1%, trade 16.1%, economy 16.7%, and inflation down an astonishing 25% since Trump's inauguration. These ratings signal a bleak omen for the Trump administration, especially with the midterms coming up. I'm Caden Hyde, and we'll send it back to the desk.